Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I am Ken Walls and I'm your host. And wow, I have got an exciting week planned for the show. Today, I have a very special guest. I got to tell you, I'm excited personally to hear this guy's story. We're new friends, but as we've talked, we've discovered that we are connected to a lot of people. It's insane. So I want to welcome my new buddy, who I was just in his backyard for a week and we didn't even connect in real life, but we're going to soon. But I want to welcome my new friend, Brett Grossman, to the show. Brett, welcome to the show.
Ken, appreciate you having me on here on a Monday morning. And this is true. We were about 30 minutes away from each other for 8 days. We didn't even connect for coffee.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man.
I know.
Yeah, I was over there hanging out with Frank Crinitti, and I think you need to meet Frank Crinitti here soon. But I'll tell you, I created this show. It's been just a little over a year ago. I've interviewed some unbelievable people. I mean, just amazing entrepreneurs, some celebrities, and 175, I think, something crazy like that, right? And I love hearing people's stories. Like, everybody wants to put up this front that everything's perfect. It's always been perfect. It's always going to be perfect, right? And I think the real motivation for people comes when they hear about somebody getting knocked down, dragged through the mud, and somehow they got back up and rose like the phoenix from the ashes. And so that's what this show's about. And I'm excited to hear your story. Let's start off by you telling everybody, a little bit about who you are, where you were born and raised, and what being a kid was like for Brett.
Sure. Well, right now I currently reside in a small town outside of Philadelphia called Phoenixville, Pennsylvania, with my wife, Jennifer, my two beautiful children, Grant, who's 7, and Aubrey, who's 11. And, we just it's the 4 of us. We've got this tight knit family between us, and we just spend a lot of time together through sports and just loving on each other and just, watching these kids grow. That to me is something that I just purely enjoy outside of work and doing business.
So is that where you were born and raised in that area?
I was born and raised right off of in Northeast Philadelphia, which is about 20 minutes north of Center City, and grew up right there in the city, right in Northeast.
Wow. So what was it like for you growing up? Mom and dad at home? What was it like for you?
Yeah, so growing up was probably, if you saw me today and then you saw the way I grew up, 2 totally different people. Yeah. I was adopted after being 6 months old. I was adopted. My father had left both my sister and I when I was an infant and she was 4 years old. Oh. And then my mom had met who is my dad now, not by blood, but he's my father now. Yeah. And to be quite frank with you, I was probably not the greatest disciplined kid. Just always seemed to find the wrong way sometimes to do things. I was a good-hearted in nature, but just kind of always seemed to branch out to the people who were always kind of going in the wrong directions.
Yeah. I cannot relate to that at all. I'm kidding. I can totally relate to that, man. So you So you got in some trouble as a kid.
It took me 3 middle schools to get to high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and one that had barbed wire fence wrapped around it, and you have to walk in a single file line from building to building.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's
3 buses just to get there.
Oh my gosh, man, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah,
And this is just outside of Philadelphia.
yeah, right inside. Yeah, Northeast Philly.
Oh, it's inside Philly.
Yeah, Northeast Philadelphia. Yep.
Oh,
So, yep, right
I
there.
missed that. Okay. Oh, you
Yeah.
said that's not like you mean the city center of Philly.
Yeah, so yeah. So you have Center
Ah,
City, Philadelphia, where all the business
okay.
people, folks and
Yeah.
are, and the Liberty Bell and the Art Museum and all that fun stuff. And then you go about 20 minutes down I-95 going north, and you hit Woodhaven Road, and there is Northeast Philadelphia right there.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yep.
Wow. So you had kind of a rough childhood in a sense that you brought on yourself. It sounds like a lot of it.
Well, as I look back at a young 43 years old now, and I look back to those years of being 12 years old and younger, and then in between 12 and 16, it was entirely brought on by nobody else other than myself. My mom tried her best to make sure that we were safe and we were fed. But to tell you what, once we came out of school, the days that I was at school, it was go time. It was, get on our bicycle and let's ride. And, whatever time we get home, we get home.
And raise a lot of hell in between.
In between.
Probably.
Yeah. Well,
So you ended up making it to high school.
correct. Yep.
And I'm assuming you went through high school, you graduated.
Went through high school, graduated. One of the things that kind of got me back in alignment was sports. So although I didn't like to take direction, and I didn't like to take answer questions from adults and do that sort of type of thing, I always was a huge fan of baseball, basketball, football. And so when I arrived and I had played Little League my whole life, and when I arrived to high school, they just basically said, if you maintain a C average here in public high school, you can play athletics. And that's what I did. And
Wow.
eventually, I started to mature, and I can't say that it turned perfect. It was anything but that. But what I will share with you is that athletics, I met my first mentor, which was my high school football coach. And he was my first mentor. And that was somebody that just kind of always kept me in line.
Wow. That's awesome, man. So
Yeah.
did you end up going to college?
I did. I actually worked in a factory when I graduated from high school. I worked third shift with a hairnet and goggles in a paper manufacturer. And it was about 4 a.m. one morning. And I was about 6 or 7 months into my job. And I just said, you know what? I either need to find something else to do, or I need to go to school. And so I came home that morning. My dad was actually just getting ready to leave for work. And we crossed paths. And I said, I think I want to go to college. And he said, great idea. You go ahead, you go enroll. You can continue to stay under our roof if you go ahead and enroll in school. He goes, but if you quit that job, you're not staying here. So I went and enrolled at the community college, and then eventually transferred over to West Virginia University, where I finished out my degree.
WVU? Really?
Mountaineers.
Down in Morgantown.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome, man. I lived in Charleston for 5 years, so I know they're nuts about WVU up there, and Marshall, but more WVU probably.
Yeah, for sure.
But so okay, so you graduated college, and you came out of college and instantly found success and never looked back.
So I have a degree. I have a degree in theater.
Oh, jeez, really?
And so I had met a girl my sophomore year in college who was a theater major, and I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. I was just happy to be out of Philadelphia right. So I was happy to be, but I just so happened to pick the #1 party school in the nation at the time.
Right.
So I arrived, and I had never been past New Jersey, and so we get there, and my dad drops me off, and he literally helps me bring my stuff into my dormitory, comes back downstairs, shakes my hand, gives me a hug, and says, "Good luck," and gets in the car and drives off and leaves me in West Virginia. And I'm thinking, I've never been out of this, like, I've never been past the Jersey Shore. What am I doing here?
Jeez.
And
you're like, where do I get a beer?
well, that was pretty, all I had to do was just take the elevator upstairs. That's all you had to do back then.
Right.
So
wow.
Trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was thinking about journalism, and I met a girl, and she was in the acting world. And I said, you know what? I could probably try something like that. And so I did. And it wound up coming naturally to me, just that speaking ability, being in front of large auditoriums of individuals and crowds, memorizing hundreds and hundreds of lines and that sort of type of thing. And so it just kind of resonated. It fit well with me.
Wow.
And then when I graduated, I packed up my Jeep and I drove out to Hermosa, Manhattan Beach, California, where a friend was staying, and just kind of drove out there and packed up my Jansport backpack full of cologne, and I was on the boardwalk, and I was selling cologne out of my backpack on the boardwalk.
Wow. Hey, Frank Cranitti just jumped on. You guys are neighbors. Frank, I got a guy from Philly on here, man. So here you are out in California selling cologne?
Selling cologne out of my backpack.
So, and you got a degree in theater, and I'm just
WVU. Wandering around. Yep.
How does that go with selling cologne?
I was just trying to figure out how to make some money.
I got you. I love it.
And I needed money. And so, I drove all the way out there. I took whatever I had and sold my TV and sold whatever, took a backpack with me and
wow.
a bunch of clothes and just kind of drove out there and spent some time out there for a while. And then the girl I had been seeing, she flew out there, and she had just gotten accepted to NYU for her master's degree. So then we got in the car, and we literally drove from California to New York City.
Oh, my God.
And there I just kind of got a couple acting gigs, and I was bartending and waitering, the typical, stereotypical, trying to make it through the cattle calls of acting, and then also, waitering at night.
That's insane. So that's funny, man. So you, so here you are now. How old are you at this point? Like 20?
Yeah, about 24 years old.
24, okay. And you're in New York now.
And now I'm living in Manhattan. Yep, Washington Square Park.
Wow. Dude. Okay, so what happened from there?
So from there, I had my first experience in resiliency. And so I originally started the story out telling you that I had been adopted.
Yeah.
Well, here I am at 24 years old, trying to still figure out, why do I say the things I do? Why do I act the way I do? Why do I think the way I do? And I had such a deep feeling in my heart that I needed to find out. I needed validation to find out, was the man who brought me into this world with my mother, is this why I am who I am? Is this why I act the way I act? Is this why I have the relationships that I formed? And so through some investigative work, I found out where he lived, and I literally jumped on a Greyhound bus out of Penn Station the next day, and I took a Greyhound to Clearwater, Florida. I met a friend. She gave me her car, and then I showed up on my biological father's front doorstep about 48 hours later.
And did he know you were coming?
He did not. Now, one of my best friends at the time was a deputy sheriff, and he had given me a sheriff shirt, and I had a black shirt on that said sheriff in the back. And I'm literally standing like this in the guy's driveway, leaning up against his car, because his neighbor, I come out and I said, hey, is this Richie Spector's? He goes, yeah. He goes, you just missed him. He went for a walk. And I'm thinking to myself, I waited 24 years. I could wait another 15 minutes.
Wow. Dude.
Yeah.
So, oh my God. Okay. So what was that like?
That was interesting. So he comes walking up, and I see this man walking towards me. And at this point, all these emotions had been built up, and all these thoughts had been built up about what is this interaction going to look like?
Yeah.
How's it going to go down?
Right.
And, he walked up and said, can I help you? And I asked him face to face, standing in this man's driveway, eye to eye. I said, do you know who I am? And he didn't have any idea. And, I must have asked him 5 or 6 times. But then I started kind of pacing back and forth, and I've got this sheriff shirt on, and he's looking at me like, oh my God, what's about to happen here? I could see it. And
oh my God, dude.
I'll save the details. I'll fast forward, go about 8 hours later, still standing in his driveway having a conversation. And we eventually became friends, and we had spoken a few times. He came and met my daughter when she was first born.
Wow.
I come to find out he actually raised a family not too far from where I grew up. He wound up raising a family, and
wow.
And he just passed away about a year and a half ago. So the moral of that story is if you have a desire to fulfill a thought in your mind, that's something that might be keeping you back, go do it and don't wait. Because if I would have waited and then this man passes away and I never met him, that's a lot of unanswered questions.
That dude, that is that's absolutely amazing. That's amazing. So you went and found in 48 hours, you went from a thought of I've got to find my biological father to standing in his driveway and confronted him. Like,
yes.
Wow.
Yep.
There had
which again turned into developed into somewhat of a friendship where we would text here and there, and
wow.
Fast forward, up until last year, my mom had never spoken to him in 42 years, and he was on his deathbed, and I did a 3-way call, and I told my mom he wants to say goodbye, and my mom and him got on the telephone, and I sat back on mute. And I listened to the conversation. Ken, they sounded like school kids. It was interesting to hear the dynamic of the conversation. I put that call together. They hung up, and about a few days later, he had passed on. And I'm actually friends with the daughter that he raised. I connected with her through social media. She and I are friends on social media.
Wow.
And, yeah.
So how are you telling this story without tears? Like, that's impressive, dude. Like I'm sitting here ready to tear up a little bit, and you're just, that's unbelievable.
It was one of the first experiences for me to find out about yourself, right? I always knew, you have to find out about yourself, and there's only so many books you can read and people that you can speak to. Yeah. And so it was something that needed to be done. I'm the type of person that when I think of something that needs to be done, I go get it and I go do it. And that was one of the first things. The lesson from that taught me how to overcome the different roadblocks that I'm about to experience throughout my 20s and my 30s. Things are going to get thrown my way. If I can do that and successfully feel good about what I did, there's nothing that's going to be thrown my way that I can't overcome that storm.
Wow, man. And that's pretty insightful, because at 20 something years old, I thought it was going to be smooth sailing. Like, by the time I'm 30, I'm going to be a gazillionaire, retired, living on a yacht with a private jet at my beck and call. And, and I'm 50. I don't have a yacht or a private jet. So, I think that, that's very insightful for you to have the thought that, you're preparing yourself for the future, right? Because so many people go through life thinking like, hey, life's going to be easy, man. And I'm never going to have problems. And that's where they get all messed up, is when they hit that problem, they're like, now what? Right.
So 3 months later, 2001, September 11, 2001, I lived 7 blocks from the World Trade Centers.
Oh my gosh.
And I had walked, right? I had gone to work that day, and the first plane hits. We're watching it on television. I call my dad and I go, "You see what's going on here?" Second plane hits, and now we're all evacuating the building. I'm walking down Avenue of the Americas, literally in the street,
Wow.
watching all the fire, watching it all go down. And as I'm walking closer and closer towards my apartment, I'm literally watching the first tower fall.
Oh
And then
my
I watched
God.
the second tower fall. And I watched the panic in people's eyes. Men throwing their cell phones down on the sidewalk because there was no signal. The panic, the crying, the destruction, the fire engines, the police cars, the chaos. And in chaos, I was so calm and I was so collected that I had found that girl that I was seeing. I found her out at 52nd Street in the middle of the street amongst thousands of people. I found her, took her, and walked because her mother was in a plane in the air. And she thought for sure something was going on. So what's interesting is that one situation had prepared me for this overwhelming sense of calmness in times of craziness.
Wow. Dude, I have never spoken with anyone that was there. Like,
Yeah.
you're the first person. That's incredible. Wow. So what do you say to the conspiracy theorists about never mind, we won't even go there. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy
Probably a different interview for a different day.
talk. we could go. Yeah, we won't even go there. But so wow, dude, you were right there. So you were the I don't even know what that was. Dust, all the soot, everything that came flying down those streets, you were in it.
I was in it. I was in the middle of it. I had
Gosh.
gotten home, and the first thing we did is we went and we got all these supplies, and we brought them down to the first responders down there, and we brought all supplies. We brought tons of socks and flannels and things of that nature because the guys were. It was bad. It was the smell. I lived on the 12th floor, catty corner to Broadway. And, for the next few days, not many people know this story. For the next few days, New York City was shut down, right? Completely shut down.
Right.
The only thing that was open, Ken, was the movies. And the movies were free, and they gave out free popcorn and free soda. Wow. And everything else, every department store, everything was closed. There wasn't a cab on the road. There was nothing. I could take a pin and it would drop from the 12th floor onto Broadway, and you could hear it. That's how quiet the city was for days.
Wow.
Yeah, but you couldn't get out of the city either because
Wow.
the tunnels were shut down. You couldn't get in and you couldn't get out. Yeah. Again, probably another story for a different day. It's not something that I don't talk a lot about a lot.
Yeah.
But again, one situation had prepared me for another situation.
Sure.
How to think on your feet. How to be prepared in specific situations.
Wow, man. That's incredible. Richard Trevino just joined us, by the way. You know that guy?
Hey, buddy. I do.
I love
Mr.
that
Trevino.
dude.
Yeah.
So wow, man, you have gosh, you've been through it. Like that's intense. Not many there's not a whole lot of people on this planet that can say they were there, like in comparison to 7.5 billion people. So, wow, man, that's intense. So what happened after that? Where did you go from there? I mean, my gosh, I remember exactly where I was. I was nowhere near New York City, but like, where did you go from there?
So I wanted to stay. She wanted to leave. Long story short, we make our way back to Philadelphia.
Okay.
And I got a job working in higher education. It was my first corporate type job. I'd always had these odd end jobs, like selling cologne out of my backpack, being a waiter and a bartender, and got my first job eventually. We part ways. and I took a job coaching high school football. I was working at this higher education school, and then I just eventually, throughout my late 20s, early 30s, just worked my way up that corporate ladder. And I always had this bug, this thing about me that just said, you know what, I just want to achieve more. I want to have more. I want to help more. How do I do it? What's that vehicle look like? How do I flex this entrepreneurial spirit that I have, but yet I'm working in this office and I'm coaching these great kids in the city? How does it happen? What do I do? Like, where do you make it work? And I answered a Craigslist ad. And I answered a Craigslist ad that talked about entrepreneurship and making money when people use the telephone. It was for a technology company. I had no idea what multi-level marketing or network marketing was.
Right.
Not a clue. And so I answered an ad. The woman lived in Virginia, and she told me, when people use this telephone, you're going to see them face to face, and we're going to pay you for it. And I asked her, do you take credit card over the telephone?
Jeez.
And she said yes. So I signed up.
Oh my gosh. I think I know who you're talking about.
Right.
Are you still doing it?
No. But this is what introduced me to entrepreneurship.
Oh.
Just through a Craigslist ad.
Oh my. In a network marketing company.
In a network marketing company.
Wow.
And so I go and I show up, and they take me to a meeting out in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And at that meeting, I experienced for the first time ever reverse racism, where I was in a room and I was the only one that was of my color. Mm. And when I came up to the front of the room to introduce myself to the speaker in front of the room, to let him know how ambitious I was and how I wanted to make this work, I literally was given the Heisman, and I was told to just kind of stay on my side and stay out of the way. And I couldn't imagine why. I didn't understand why it was happening. And so I took a step back and I didn't pursue that particular endeavor.
Yeah.
But then I met a gentleman who was driving a nice car. He was living in a nice house, and I had remembered him from grade school. And I called him up on the phone and I said, hey, I don't know if you remember me. We played sports against each other. I'd like to meet you. I want to know what you're doing. And he came and he sat down with me right around the corner, probably from where you were over the last 8 days, in this place called Broomall, PA. I had worked my way up, and I was the director of a school called CHI Institute. It's now called Kaplan Higher Education Corporation.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Yep. And so we got connected, and he had showed me a business plan, and I said, you know what? I'm already in that kind of a business plan. I already know about this. And I said, how much is it? And he told me, and I go, oh, I already paid that. You take credit card?
He said yes.
And I signed up again into a different deal, but this time I was introduced to a mentor.
Yeah.
And these two brothers, these mentors, they taught me for 3 years how to be a servant leader, how to work in transparency, how to build a network.
Yep.
They taught me about the highs and lows. They taught me about the roller coaster ride of an entrepreneur. And that is what kind of catapulted me, which led me into financial services, insurance brokerage firm, and then eventually I built my own brokerage firm and started my own business, which then led me to building a multi-million-dollar agency and a firm over a few years. And then I made a decision with a man I had met in business, and I woke up one day and that man had taken my entire business, all of my insurance income, and then tried to run my reputation through the mud.
Oh no.
Just like that.
Wow. Man,
so,
there are some people out there like that, man. They're it's crazy.
Yeah. And so, we woke up one day and everything was gone.
Oh,
All of our income, and I'm, husband, 2 kids, wife, right, the whole deal. Again, something, except this time was a little bit different, Ken. I got to tell you, this time, the stress levels were so high. I took my family to the beach, and they all went to the beach, and I sat in this room at the house we were staying, and I couldn't move my neck. I couldn't move my head from side to side because I had built up so much stress based on that situation.
yeah.
And it was the first time in my life where I started to question all the things that I had learned up until this point.
Yeah.
And then I met a gentleman who became a mentor. I actually just interviewed him last week on my show, and I interviewed him. His name is Adam Markell, and I met Adam. And Adam started to teach me some principles about life, about love, and about joy, and just some things that I think that a lot of people take for granted.
Yeah.
Is our ability to love and our ability to care about other people, like truly care about others. It's one thing to invest in others and work with others.
Yeah.
It's another thing to have a real, genuine caring for another individual. And so after mentoring with him and working with him, I then came back into the insurance business. And within 10 months, I went from 0 to 2.4 million in production income. And so the rest is history. The rest is up to date now. I've kind of brought you a little bit up to date.
Dude, hold it. So you went from losing everything, basically.
Everything. I went from a multiple six-figure income to 0 in 24 hours.
Did you like lose your house and all that, or?
No, because, I had understood how to do that other thing, that other network marketing thing. So I kind of supplemented for a few months as I was going to figure out what my next move was. One of the great things of being in business for yourself is weathering these storms. But what these storms teach you is that success will always be on the other side of these major failures. These major hardships is what's going to chisel you and prepare you for the success on the other side.
Dude, and I totally agree with you. Listen, I gotta say, I said to my wife, it was like, a year and a half ago, we went through this storm that I thought, there's no way I could not see. You know what I'm talking about. I didn't get the not able to move my neck thing, but I got that fear, man, that overwhelming fear of, oh God, everybody's going to judge me and we're all going to starve to death and all of that. Right. And I told my wife, finally I had this, because I meditate every day. And I said to her one day, I said, you know what? I think this means something unbelievably good is coming. I really do. And she, you go back and forth, and she's a very, very strong woman, but it's tested her faith too, right? It's like, sure. Whoa, dude, that's crazy. What a great point you just made.
I think you hit the nail on the head. There's a couple key principles that we have to live by in order to, be able to stretch ourselves. And one of those is having faith, not just in faith in yourself, but faith in any spiritual being that you believe in, right? Because It's mind, body, spirit. So you got to have that faith. You got to have a high belief level in what it is that you're doing, as well as in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else is ever going to believe in you. Right? You have to have a purpose, and you have to be evangelical about your purpose. You have to be evangelical about your driven mission. And when you have faith and belief and you're driven and you've gone through the storms and you've failed hard, this is where success is. Like, success is literally calling your name. But if it was, right, it's not that same old, if it was easy, everybody would do it. But there's a reason why the accumulation of money, it's not difficult to accumulate money, but it's like trying to court a woman, right? It's like trying to court, your spouse. there was some convincing that needed to be done, and so, right, some persuasion needed to happen at some point in time, and you had to create the successful art of persuasion in order to court your spouse, in order to convince your kids to brush their teeth at night, in order to get people to follow you in a volunteer army. Well, that's the attainment of financial freedom. Is, it needs to be courted, and you have to have a decisive plan. You have to be part of a mastermind. You have to have the right people around you. And I know I just kind of threw a lot out there, with that, but you brought up the great point. And so, it's like the combination, it's this formula of success.
Dude, I like, everything you just said, I 1,000% agree. And it's like, there's people, I did a live stream about this very topic last night. I said, I mean, this isn't about me, but I've got 17 years sober and almost, and I was talking about this woman I knew when I first decided to stop drinking, or when God decided that I was going to stop drinking. I remember meeting this woman. I was brand new in sobriety, and this woman had like 40 years sober, this old lady from West Virginia, like way down in the hollers. And I said, how in the world do you stay sober for 40 years? And she says in her raspy old voice, she goes, honey, you just don't drink and you don't die. And I'm like, that I equate that to success, right? Like, if you're like, dude, I have been overdrawn to the point where I'm like, they're going to shut down all my accounts and we're screwed. And I've been to the point where I've had, a lot of money, and it's like, it's literally, it is a roller coaster, man. It sucks sometimes, but it's like, it's you just got to keep pushing, man, because eventually if you keep pushing and you don't die, you're going to get it. No, am I wrong?
Yeah, no, look, I mean, you're 100,000% on point. It's keep pushing, and then you have to have an unbreakable work ethic.
Amen.
I see on social media, and I'm not taking anything away from anybody, and this isn't a dig on anybody, but I know for a fact that sometimes the Game of Thrones is more important than having your face in a book.
Yep.
And I also know, that there's some people who will sleep until 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and then they want to make sure that they go to bed early at night because they want to get 12 hours of sleep. I have this firm belief that if you're up at 5 a.m. and you're doing the small little things that other people aren't doing, you will naturally begin to attract things into your life that not everybody has. And so you have to have this work ethic. You have to go. I like to go 24/7. My little girl, her friends come over on the weekends. The parents come to pick them up. Every time they go, you're always working on Sunday. You're always working on Saturday. You're always on your phone, but yet you're always at the kids' games. Right? You got to learn how to multitask that out, but you also always have to be on if you want to achieve high levels of success. You want high levels of success? You have to have high levels of belief, high levels of persuasion. You have to always be on. It doesn't mean that you can't turn it off, but if you put in the effort and the work and the time, you can go take your spouse away for 7 days, and when you come back, your business has grown 30%. Your business has grown 50%. So, throughout these storms of life, this has just taught me how to develop this work ethic and how to pour into others. And who knows what the future holds? I always give thanks for the things that I have yet to obtain. I give thanks for the abundance that has yet to come into my life that I know is about to happen. And I give thanks for the individuals that will be in my life that I have yet to meet.
I'll tell you, I wrote a book a couple of years ago, and because of Richard's help, actually, it hit #1 on Amazon. and
Okay.
which is a blessing, dude. I didn't go to college. I didn't even finish high school. Like they told me in 12th grade, and I was all set to go to college. I took trigonometry, analytic geometry, calculus, algebra. I was acing all of that, right? But like I didn't get a biology credit, and they said, "Hey, you didn't get that biology credit in 10th grade. You're going to have to come back next year." And I'm like, "No, I'm not coming back. No, I am not coming back next year. Peace." And so I went out and I figured it out, but I learned very, very, very early that, number one, there is absolutely no way you're ever going to succeed in life if you don't educate yourself. And college is amazing, right? But I've had a lot of college graduates work for me, and I'm nothing against college education at all, but I've had some people is like, how did you even get through the first semester of college, let alone a diploma? Are you kidding me? Like, know what I'm talking about, right?
Sure.
And it's like, did you ever pick up a book after college? Did you ever read anything ever after college? And there's a lot of people that really haven't. They got their diploma and they thought that, okay, I'm good. And I think from what I'm hearing you say, because I wrote about this in my book, like, look, like all wisdom is plagiarized. We get it from somewhere else. All of us do, right? So like, what are some of the books that you've read that you feel like, man, if I wouldn't have read that book, it wouldn't have happened?
Think and Grow Rich.
Boom. I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
Now, here's the thing about the Think and Grow Rich book is that it's not the type of book that you read once.
No way.
It's something that I have to keep. I say I have to. And the reason I have to is because if I don't, I'm going to sideline myself and I'm going to get sidetracked. It's a way for me to reel myself back in so that I can remember what is my definite purpose.
Amen.
And so it's my all-time favorite. It's my all-time favorite. A book that I needed to read so that I could become better, and I'm very old school, was How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Dale Carnegie.
Why? Dale Carnegie. Because I needed to figure out, I wanted to figure out, how do I attract the right things into my life and then eliminate the wrong things out of my life? When I was going through that whole thing in New York City, and I jumped on the Greyhound and I went to find, biological dad and do all that stuff. What people, and I've never told this story before.
All right. I love it, man. We're getting the goods out. Let's go. I want to hear it.
So it was about 4:00 in the morning, and it was after the towers had gone down and that whole thing, and nobody could sleep. And I was flipping through the channels. It's 4:00 in the morning, and I'm sitting on this futon. Meanwhile, my futon was in my kitchen. My kitchen was in my living room. My living room was in my dining room. My dining room was in my hall closet, and the bathroom. You couldn't put more than one person in the bathroom. I lived in 500 square feet, and it cost $2,000 a month.
Wow,
that's New York.
Yeah.
That's New York. And so the windows open and flipping through, and I find this gentleman, and his name was Joel Osteen. And I find Joel on television. And I start listening to his message. And I had never been to synagogue. I had never gone to church. I just wasn't very spiritual. But there were some things, there were some principles, there were some words that he had spoken that night that I just took a step back and I said, I kind of feel like this message is for me right now. In no way, shape, or form I say to myself, I need to become born again, or I need to do this, it was just, this just makes sense. Like when someone says something, you're like, you have to acknowledge when something makes sense, regardless of whatever your religious affiliation is.
Sure.
And so I went ahead and I waited till the next Sunday, and I set my alarm for 3:50 a.m. so that I could be up again and watch at 4 a.m.
What?
So I did this every Sunday. I set my alarm until one day I'm going through the guide and I realized that he's on at 7 p.m. I was watching the rerun.
Oh my gosh. That is awesome.
But what I did is I went and got his book. And that book was the first book that I had ever read other than the college literature that they made me read.
Your Best Life Now?
Yes.
I'm looking at it. It's on my bookshelf.
Yes. And so voluntarily went and bought the book. In college, they said you have to buy the book, right? Here, I buy the book, I read the book, and since then, everything has started to change in my life. Everything changed. And it was just started to reprogram my mind. Look, we've been told since very early on, no, and go to school and get a good job and do the things that the other 95% of the world does. And that's what I had heard. I was told as a young kid I'd be nothing more than a garbage man. Guess what? There's nothing wrong with being in sanitation. They got great benefits and it's a stable profession. But this is what was told to me. It was told to me, you're never going to amount to anything because of your behavior, because of your thought patterns, because of just the way you're living your life. Yep. You'll be lucky if you make it to age 30.
Wow, dude.
And so it's just something that's spiraled. And so I credit who I am today based on the books I've read, the investment I've made in myself, the education on wheels that I have in my truck, the YouTube, the stuff that I listen to, and these types of conversations, and aligning myself with people who are going to lift me up. And then I pushed the people that were pulling me down out of my life. I keep them at afar. And sometimes it's even the people with our same last name are the ones who can pour some of that stuff back into us, that can pull us back into who we used to be. So I just keep a lot of that. I love people from afar. I'll just say that. I love them from afar. I still just love them from afar.
Dude, oh my gosh, I talk about the same stuff all the time, man. I'm and here's the thing. I think that the people you're talking about, family members or whomever it could be, they don't do it on purpose. There's no malintent. It's this programming that we all experience. And I truly believe that, the subtitle of my book is Turning Pain into Profit. It's the pain that makes you go deeper, man. It makes you look deeper inside of you. It's that one day waking up and having zero income and overdrawn or whatever it is. And you go, wow, man, you got to dig deep. You have to dig deep. And that's, dude, this is one of the most inspirational conversations I've had on this show. So you are, so now you're back in the black, as AC/DC would say.
Yeah.
So I heard you say synagogue. Or were you raised Jewish or like?
So yeah. So I was, and so my mother, she wanted me to. This is going to sum it up for you in a nutshell here. Ready? You're going to love this. This is going to sum it up for in a nutshell. So my mom was all about, you got to have a bar mitzvah, you got to have a bar mitzvah, you got to have a bar mitzvah, right? She's talking to the kid who didn't even like to show up to regular school. Now you're going to make me go to a Hebrew school? Are you out of your mind, right? So I refused. I was like, I'm not going. You can't make me go. I'm not going. So they hired a tutor who would come to my house, and I learned, I don't know, whatever it was. I may exaggerate this number, but it was well over 50 paragraphs that I had to learn in 10 months in order to get up in front of a room full of people in a synagogue and do that,
in
Yiddish? In Yiddish, and read the Torah and do the whole thing. Now here's what I'll share with you. Even back then at 12 years old, it occurred to me that I could memorize all this stuff, even though I didn't. My goal was the party afterwards. Right?
That is funny.
So I had the opportunity to showcase, and I could be up in front of all my friends, and I could, be this cool kid. But then we get to have a party afterwards. So, right. So such is life.
Right.
If you want to have a party in life, you have to go through the stuff in order to obtain it.
Yes. Amen. Amen, dude. Wow. So the extent of my Yiddish is oy vey and yada yada yada. That's about it. In fact, Frank Cranitti says to me the other day, I said yada yada yada. He said, "Is that even a real word?" I said, dude, I think it's Yiddish.
Think you got it from Seinfeld.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. So man, dude, what an incredible. So then Joel Osteen rocked your world, and I mean, hey, he's a Christian minister, right? So
he is.
So
wow. So in my 20s, I live back in Philadelphia. I'm living in Bucks County, and I was down at the Jersey Shore. And that's where I met my wife. Yeah. And then we got together, and eventually we, begin, to start to develop a family. And where we lived at that time, we lived across the street from a place called the Christian Life Center. Now, for 6 or 7 months, I'm driving back and forth, pulling into my development, looking at this place. And at the time, my life was still spiraling. Now, I had already gone and done some stuff. I'd lived through the 9/11. The 9/11, but my life was still always a spiral. I still was attracting the wrong type of people, the wrong negativity, the wrong jobs. I couldn't keep a job to save my life. I've been fired from more jobs than I've got fingers on a hand.
Wow.
And I told you though, but when I was younger, I didn't like taking direction. I didn't like being told what to do. I always kind of felt like I had to give more. And so imagine, right? So I'm at a job, I'm in my 20s, somebody's telling me what to do. I'm like, no, it needs to be done this way, not the way you're anyhow.
Yeah, that doesn't go over well. I can relate.
So I said to my wife, I go, why don't we go check out what's going on in that building over there? Wow. And we walk in on a Sunday morning, and we're in our mid-20s, both of us were the same age, and she was raised Catholic. And the message of the gentleman in front of the room resonated with me the similar way that Joel's message resonated with me. And it wasn't so much about the talk of Jesus. It was the principles of the Bible.
Yes.
That struck a chord with me that made me go, if I just change, right? Just the simple, if I just change this thought, instead of thinking like that, but I think like this, maybe something in my life will get better. And maybe if I start having different conversations with people and invest more in people, as opposed to being so self-absorbed, maybe that'll happen over there. Wow. And it was over time. This doesn't happen overnight. This isn't like you just get water thrown on you one day and all of us, you're just this changed person.
Right.
It's a process. The process of change happens over years. And guess what? Today, as you and I still speak, it's a process in change. It's like the art of persuasion. Like it's a skill that you're going to have to always continue to get better at forever.
Dude, I got to tell you, like my mind is blown, dude. So here's this Jewish guy walking into a Christian church. Sounds like the beginning of a joke, right? So no, but like that's amazing. And in fact, I don't know if they're still on here, but I saw the pastors of our church were on here earlier, and we just found this church recently. And it's funny that you're right, man. I mean, I used to be in the children's ministry a long time ago, so very familiar with the word, but you start living life your way sometimes, and you can't figure out why it's not going exactly the way you think it should be, right? But God is still in the miracle business, and always has been and always will be. And I love that, man. I love that. That's awesome. What an incredible story you have. Incredible.
Yeah.
And then we're both friends with Richard, who's a crazy preacher.
Yeah. And I just found that out about him too. I had no idea. Yeah. We got connected through the insurance business, and
wow.
And he became a guest on on a show that I do for my agents, and I actually streamlined it into Facebook for everybody to take a look at. I said, why don't I stop being selfish and just give it to the agents in my group? I've got about 400 members in my private group. Why don't I give it out to the 3,000 individuals that I'm connected with on social media?
Wow.
Let them get the information. And if I can impact one person's life on a random Wednesday every few weeks, then so be it. Job well done.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So let me ask you this. I can't believe we're at the end of the hour, man. That's crazy. So couple quick questions I want to ask. I always ask this. Number one, in your opinion, what do you think the number one thing is that holds people back from success and real happiness and joy in life?
It's their patterns. It's their patterns from childhood that have just kind of stuck with them throughout their life. And, we have 6 inches between our left and right ear. And from the moment we wake up in the morning, we can say, I love my life. I'm grateful for the air in my lungs and for my feet hitting the floor. Or you can turn your cell phone on and get right on social media and see what everyone's doing. And all of a sudden, you're back to the same way you were 12 hours prior. Oh, I'm worried about this. I've got this to do. My bank account's this negative, and I've got this happening, and my children here, and I've got this problem over there, and I've got this lawsuit over there. And all that stuff weighs so heavy on your shoulders that if you don't take time like you and meditate in the morning and begin to reinvest in yourself, that's never going to change.
Amen, man. I love that. You're right. And the very first thing that you said, which is so true, is first thing in the morning, you learn by doing. So start doing every single morning. Express gratitude for your life instantly when you wake up. If you start your day off like that, man, things still go wrong, but like you're coming at those problems from a place of gratitude, right?
Yes. Yes.
That's amazing.
Daily rituals, daily habits.
Yeah.
It can start with something small, and then eventually add something new a month later, then maybe add something new another month later. And now you have 2 or 3 daily rituals or habits that you're starting your day off with. Mine has been stretching and working out 5, 6 a.m. in the morning every single day since I'm young, just to kind of, get it out of the way and start the day off right. Feel good about yourself.
I love it, man. Love that. So and the last question is this. I ask everyone this question. And the reason I ask it is because I've been through it. I had a car repossessed one time in front of all my employees. Want to talk about a bad day? Oh, geez. This guy walks in. Hey, boss, there's some dude looking in the windows of your SUV. And I'm like, well, tell him to get the hell out of here. What are you doing? He's like, no, he's got it blocked with a tow truck. I'm like, well, definitely tell him to get out of here then. But so somebody calls you up and they say, Brett, I can't figure it out, man. My electric's being shut off tomorrow. I'm being evicted. My house is being foreclosed on. I'm losing everything. I don't know what to do. I've tried everything and it just isn't working for me. What do I do? And what are you going to say to that person to help them get through that moment right there in their head?
What do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do in order to change? Well, I want to not have my electric shut off. I understand that. But what are you going to do in order to not have that happen? What have you started to do? What do you want to? Well, I go to work every day and I work really hard, and it's just so tight. Okay, have you not tried, but have you given the effort to figure out another way to generate an income? I did, and I went ahead and I joined this thing and it didn't work, and nobody wanted to sign up, and everybody, told me it's a pyramid, right? And all this stuff. Okay, so you let the opinions of others dictate your life, your income. Is that on you or is that on them? And sometimes you have to have these difficult conversations. See, everyone wants to have the opinion of a friend until the friend gives you their opinion. And
Right.
and then all of it, right? And then all of a sudden, you have two options. You can accept that opinion as love and take it for what it is and then apply it, or you're going to get mad at the person.
Yeah.
And you're going to go, "Oh, what do you know?" And you don't know what you're talking about. And so, accepting that tough love, that criticism.
Yeah.
It's an ego thing. Look, we can have a whole another conversation on ego and that sort of type of thing.
Yeah.
I know you're running out of time. I'm grateful and I appreciate you having me on today and being able to talk to your folks who follow you, and hopefully, maybe one time we could do this again. This was great.
Dude, you're incredible. Your story is absolutely phenomenal. It's so inspiring. Like I'm unbelievably grateful that you took the time. I know you're a busy guy. Like back into the millions in your business, which is awesome, man, cuz you've been to the bottom. It's incredible.
That's it. And again, there is no testimony without the test. So.
Oh, I love it, dude. Love it. I'm tweeting that out later. I'll tag you.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So listen, thank you very much. I want to say thank you to everybody who watched this, everyone who shared this out. There's a special, probably extra couple gold nuggets for you somewhere. Thank you. I appreciate it. And listen, Brett, don't hang up. Don't
Okay.
hang up yet on Skype, but thank you to everybody for being on here. And Brett, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate you.
Likewise. Thank you. You guys have a great day.